Happy Wednesday night, and welcome to A Look on the Plus Side. We are one with the Force. The Force is with us. We are going to be talking about Rogue One, a Star Wars story. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. It's called Park Adventurers Club. We have a good time all the time, so please join us when you can. And also give this video a like, because it helps people to find us, and we want people to find these folks, these guys. Look at these fellas. It's Mr. Patrick Hackett.
Hey, what's going on?
You need to match my energy, buddy, because I am ready to talk about this movie. I got the hat. I'm like, come on, bring it. Okay, all right.
We got this.
All right. All right. Well, and then Mr. Ron Deanna. What's going on, Ron?
Bright Suns.
Bright Suns indeed. Thank you guys for doing this with me. I appreciate it. You know, there was a TV show on Disney Plus. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. It was called Andor. There were 2 seasons of it. It was very divisive. A lot of people were either like, oh my gosh, this is great television. And a lot of other people were like, why are we doing this? So we're not talking about Andor. We did Andor season 1 on another show. We are not doing Andor, but we're skipping ahead. We're skipping ahead to Rogue One, a Star Wars story. And originally when they started putting these together, these were going to be one-shot movies outside of the Skywalker saga. And then there were some mysterious reshoots back in the day with this one, and I feel like maybe some of those reshoots were, you know what, there's not enough Darth Vader. Let's put more Darth Vader in it, or there's not enough, let's just throw C-3PO and R2-D2 in it, and then people will like it. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some iconic scenes from this, and, you know, honestly, I'm probably spoiling it already, but this is one of my favorite Star Wars movies. Let's go to the stat board before we get to the boys here. The runtime on this is 2 hours and 13 minutes. It was released December 16th, 2016. This is almost 9 years old now. And then the rating was PG-13. The box office was just over $1 billion. It cost $200 million to make, and it was made by Lucasfilm, of course. Patrick, the first time you saw this movie, did you go in with huge expectations of it being something different than Star Wars that we know, or did you hope to see something new?
I'm trying to remember the first time I saw it. It feels obviously like it was a very long time ago. This is between 2 of the last trilogy, the sequel trilogy, right?
Yeah, they were going to go
between 7 and 8.
Yeah. It came out between, and I don't know what I was looking for at that time. All I know is I probably went in with lower expectations, and it absolutely blew me away. Yeah, spoilers for later on. This is one of, if not my favorite Star Wars film. It really just did something and showed the rebellion in ways that I don't think we really saw it before. It was cool.
Okay. All right. Ron, same question.
Yeah, the first thing that, you know, got my attention when I went to see this, I just remember going, where the hell's the crawl?
Okay.
So that got me right at 10. But yeah, no, it gripped me almost immediately after that. It had a different style, which I think they were trying to do. I'm not sure if that worked for or against them in the long run. But yeah, definitely, it felt like a Star Wars movie, but didn't feel like a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, what you were talking about is at the very beginning, it does the whole long time ago, hey, there's a Loth cat. It starts out with the long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It's a real one. It starts out with that, and then it disappears into the shot with the planet and the ship that we're familiar with happening, but it bypasses the crawl. But the irony is that this movie idea was born out of the crawl from A New Hope. The idea of these rebels who got the plans to the Death Star, you know, and going and watching a lot of stuff behind the scenes on this one to get ready for this show. I did see that, you know, the guy who wrote the story for this one that brought this story to life was saying that, you know, he was inspired by that crawl, and I think a lot of people were like, wait a minute, that's a great idea. Let's put this together. And again, I don't know how much of this was supposed to live within the universe of Star Wars. I wasn't expecting it, of the Skywalker saga. I wasn't expecting it to line up, I think, directly with it like it did. But now that I've seen it like that, I can't see it any other way. So I feel like, to me, it almost feels like part of the original trilogy that came after the fact, almost like a real prequel, as opposed to the prequels that we saw. No offense if you all love the prequels, but they're definitely lower on my list when it comes to that kind of stuff. So again, yeah, no crawl with this one. We see the ship coming in. We're thrown right into it with the ship landing. It has a lot of other like environments that we haven't seen. There's a lot of ocean and beach and things like that that we haven't seen in these universes before. So that was kind of cool to see. The ship comes in, lands. There's a girl running. We don't know what's happening, and we learn a little bit through exposition that that they're in trouble. And honestly, again, I feel like, and this is a sidebar, I feel like we should have seen, instead of Andor, we should have seen Jyn Erso's evolution up until this point. Patrick, do you think I'm wrong on that one?
I don't know. I think she gets tons of development. I think we get her backstory kind of quickly when she meets Saw, and she just talks about how she's been kind of on the run. We see enough character development from her. When I first saw this, I did not like Andor at all. I thought he was very, very vanilla. And the series has really, really colored up who he is, and it adds so much to this movie after seeing the series. So I don't know if we would have done as well with the Jyn story. I wish she survived and we saw more of Jyn, but sadly.
That's, you know what, that's another thing though. Like, I read that there was originally a script where K2 was the only one that we lost and that everybody else made it. Knowing what we know about Andor, and maybe it was a chicken egg situation where he has Bex and he has a relationship and a love that he loses, and she has a kid, and spoilers if you haven't seen Andor by this point, but I feel like that there's not really a love story here, and I think that they could have taken a wrong turn and made a love story
Agreed.
with
Yeah.
with Jyn and Andor, and they didn't. But again, originally they were all supposed to make it out alive. There was also some situation where maybe Darth Vader would have been on the ground in Scarif having the fight, which he seems like he might have been too good for that at this point. But you mentioned Saw Gerrera. Ron, I'm going to assume you're a huge fan of like the animation, yeah? Are you familiar with Saw before this?
I vaguely remembered him going into it, but I don't think I ever was drawn to the character. I had to like go back and remember relook up his episodes. It was just never anything that grabbed me as a character. So
yeah. I do think, though, again, talking about Andor, talking about this, I think they did a very good job, and this is really probably more of a review on Andor than it is Rogue One, of lining the movie, the shows up with the movie. Because, they need to get some kind of backstory for Andor, because when we see him, we don't really know where he came from, and we don't really know what made him what he was. We get a little bit of that in the movie, but then, now we have a history of him that leads up until this. And then at the same time, using the same actors, although the Jimmy Smits thing was a little bit distracting to me, that they threw in Benjamin Bratt as Senator Organa instead of Jimmy Smits, because he had some kind of situation
there's
happening.
Some distracting in here if you want to talk about that.
Talk to me.
Well, Ron was about to pop off, but man, on my third or fourth or fifth or seventh rewatch, Peter Cushing and Leia, less so Leia, but Peter Cushing is incredibly distracting every single time he's on the screen. The character is lit differently. And I get it. They had the support of the estate, and I think was a great actor, but this was just super, super distracting to me.
You're talking about the AI.
Yeah.
I mean, the CGI stuff.
Yeah, CGI.
Ron, is that what you were going to say too?
No, but I remember it. I was more distracted by it this time than I was in the movie. I think that tech has always ages quickly, because what's that, like 9 years? That's what, 2 generations of PlayStations ago, right? Like, we've got better video game graphics than this. No, I measure CG graphics is video game generations. But what I was going to say is, was about the Jimmy Smits thing. Was supposedly he couldn't do Andor because he had a commitment, so they recast him, and then whatever his other project fell through, and they just couldn't get him on. Like they couldn't work it back in.
Yeah. Well, and did we need Tarkin? Like, did we need him that
No.
much that they had to do this? Like, I get it with Leia, but because he's
Yes.
such a big character in this movie, they use him a lot. And so,
Yep.
yeah, I agree with you, Patrick. And to Ron's point about it aging not well, is that I think the first time I saw it, I was like, wow, no, did they just really do that? That's really cool. But you could tell. Like, you could tell that it's CGI. It's not fooling anybody. And then, but it was a neat option. But again, to use the character so much was a really bold move. And I think that the risk 9 years later, whatever, doesn't really pay off so much. The Leia thing was quick. And so, like, that feels okay. That, you know,
and it almost looks like archival footage, because it's the footage we all know from A New Hope.
You know what I didn't realize in the first watching, which it stood out to me, and then I had to go look it up in this watching, was Red Leader. Red Leader is archival footage because of the actor who played the Red Leader. Yeah.
Oh, different. Red Leader is archival footage because he passed, but there's also reused footage of, like, I think it was Blue and Gold Team from A New Hope.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, it's neat, and it's a great throw back to the original, even though we're trying not to be the original because we're not doing the crawls, and we're using different characters than you're familiar with, sort of.
Didn't use a wipe until the end.
Exactly. But honestly, I feel like this movie plays really well on its own. But I think as a fan of the original trilogy, you see what it's working toward, and I think appreciate it that much more. I think there's a little bit of fan throw to everybody, except for the fact in Andor, I feel like the Force was more downplayed in Andor than any other series Star Wars thing that I've ever seen. And now in this, we seem to be a lot more about the Force, Ron. Does that make sense? Like, they didn't really talk about it a lot in Andor, but they talk about it a lot in this one, I feel like.
I think so. I mean, Andor was his story, so it wasn't necessarily like to do that. But like Jeddah being what it was, like one of the most holy sites for the Jedi, and the Kyber crystal, which I got a little bit. I think when they did it in Rebels, I got kind of annoyed with the putting the Kyber crystals into the new continuity from the whole Splinter of the Mind's Eye fiasco and all that, in the even Legends, but it fits. And I remember liking that there wasn't an overabundance of Force use in this one. And then when Solo came out, I'm like, oh wow, there's like no Force in this movie. There's no Force users, and then there's that stupid sting with Maul in that one. So yeah, I was glad to see like no Force use in Andor, because I really want to see something grounded, because there's so much interesting in this universe other than the Jedi, with like the crime syndicates and all that as well.
Yeah. Patrick?
No, I agree with Ron, especially because it makes sense during this time that Force users were in hiding. And you can see how they were treated during this time as well. It makes it interesting because there's a lot of continuities running all at once right now. So at the same time that we have the event of Rogue One, we also are dealing with Rebels. Rebels is referenced in this multiple times. Chopper's in the movie. What the heck is Ahsoka Tano up to during all of this? And you have, the event of the Bad Batch. All of this are all in continuity and all going on at the same time. So when you have this much story, it makes you think, like, what are you missing during this time? For me, when we were talking about Peter Cushing, I was like, that could have very easily have been Thrawn. Thrawn is known and would have despised Krennic. So I like that there's not a lot of Force. I wish we had a little more from Jarrett, but I don't know if he was actually a Force user, if he was just one of the Guardians of the Temple.
No, I think they were definitely Force sensitive. I just don't think they had the like levels to be the Jedi. Was kind of.
You're saying their midichlorians weren't high enough?
No, we're not talking about that.
Their M count.
Oh, no, 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 no. Hey, let's talk a little bit about the cast in general. Felicity Jones as Jen Urso, Diego Luna, obviously, Cassian Andor, Alan Tudyk as K2SO steals the show in this movie. I feel like so good. I don't know if it was the writing or his delivery or what, but like, I love it when they make you love a droid in one of these things, and I feel like this one was definitely one that you were just like, you were very sad when he got destroyed, but he got his gun and he's pretty good. I love his candor with Jin all along. Like, I don't like you, and he's made me bring you, and I didn't want to bring you. It's like it felt like kind of like.
Do you want to know the odds that she's going to use that against us?
Well, they're very high.
or when she shot the other one, you didn't know that wasn't me.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love that line. Yes. But again, he's great. Like anytime he's in here, it's brilliant. Again, I don't know if it's Alan Tudyk or if it's just the writing, but it was very well done. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I got to see him at D23 come out, and he did like voices from all the Disney things that he had done, and it was just really good to see him there. Side note about this cast is this is a problem that I have in general when I watch a British any kind of show. I feel like everybody is a guy I've seen in Harry Potter. In these other things that I watch, I feel like everybody has been in the MCU. And as I'm looking down, I like Forrest Whitaker was in Black Panther, and Mads Mikkelsen was in Doctor Strange, and Ben Mendelsohn was in the Captain Marvel, and like it just feels like we see these people in all of these Marvel movies, and so sometimes it takes me out of it when I'm like, because I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, that's the guy from.
Oh no,
from Marvel.
man, I was locked in.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me. Forrest Whitaker, from so many things, but he was Saw Gerrera in this. I think it's incredibly well cast. Just really from top to bottom, everybody is doing exactly what they need to do.
Yeah, and Gareth Edwards said that he, wanted Forrest Whitaker from the beginning, and so it's really cool that he was in this and that he would do it. And then they mentioned that like Saw, like because he has been through it, that he has sort of been tested the same way that Anakin Skywalker was tested, and he was a student of Anakin, and so like he's got the breathing apparatus, and it sounds a little bit like Darth Vader, and he's they really showed him as kind of a polar opposite or an extremist in Andor, more so than I feel like we see him here. He's got a reputation already. We don't know him, so it was neat that they get to go back in Andor and rediscover him as he is now. But I think he did an amazing job. Mads Mikkelsen, I'm not used to seeing him not be a villain. And so, like, for him to be Galen Erso and being like the loving father who saved us all by putting that flaw into the Death Star when he built it, and naming it after his daughter and all those cool things. It was a little bit of a different take for him, but I definitely enjoyed that. Ron, casting wise, anything that stood out to you as like maybe didn't fit, or somebody who was spot on?
No, I think it was well cast. I don't think there was anybody that was stunt casted into this. I think everybody was good for their parts. I mean, just the CG characters were more the stunt casting than anything else. And, part of that just ended up being so relevant because of what happened, 10 days after the movie opened when Carrie Fisher died. Like, right when this was in the middle of its run. So, I mean, it just almost became prophetic. Like, that day I went back to see it again just because I wanted to hear her say that last line that day.
Yeah. No, way to bring us down. It's all right. So, Donnie Yen. I saw somebody, maybe Ronald, shouting out Donnie Yen in the chat. Apparently, it was his.
Incredible.
But apparently, it was his call, Patrick, to play this character as blind. It wasn't originally written that way. But what do you love about him?
Donnie Yen is amazing in everything he's ever been in, but in this role in particular, like we talked about, there's no Force users, but he is the embodiment of the Force. The way he talks about it and the religious values, it reminds you that the Jedi are a religion, and they may all be tied together through midichlorians, but it's ultimately a religious order, and he takes that into this. The whole "I am one with the Force." The Force is it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful, especially in that last scene where he throws the switch, and his relationship with Baz is just terrific.
Yeah.
Man, I could. This might be the most rewatchable Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Speaking
go
of,
ahead, Ron.
Do you remember the panel when this was coming out? I think it was the Star Wars Celebration panel with the entire cast that was being simulcast when this came out. And I don't remember. I think it was Donnie Yen, but it might have been the guy who playing Baze, whose name is slipping my mind right now. When he goes, yeah, and then when I die, and the whole panel just stops and like stares at him.
All right, but like you have to know going in. This is like Titanic. No one gets. Very few people get out of that. You know, we know what's coming here. We don't see these people ever again. So,
but again, the original script called for them to live. So I feel like that. Maybe we just wouldn't have
for Andor and Jin to live.
Okay. Well, either way, yeah. I mean, we don't see Krennic again, so we knew he was probably going to bite it. Am I the only one that has a director Krennic magic band? Just me? Okay, cool. Yeah, I definitely.
Krennic magic band.
I do. It's very strange, isn't it?
Is it? Wait a minute. Is it readily accessible right now?
No, it's not.
Oh,
it's not.
I want to see that.
Yeah, sometime I'll take a picture and put it on. Or I'll send it to you. But again, Ben Mendelsohn did a great job in this character. He's not afraid of Darth Vader. He's not afraid of Tarkin. He stands up to them, but he doesn't have the powers. He doesn't have the status of the rest of them, and yet he still stands toe to toe with them. And so I think that's what makes him a little bit more scary, is that he does, and he seems to try to like be, I don't know, like he really is conniving in the fact that he's like, he's talking to Galen when they first land, and he's like, "Oh, my wife has passed away." He's like, "Oh, that's so sad." And he looks over at the troopers and goes, "Search the house." It's like, "Oh yeah, I really buy that. Go, she's not dead. Go find her." I mean, he plays it cool from the beginning, and we get to meet him, and then we meet young Jen, and then she goes and she hides, and then Saw finds her, and then we kind of flash forward to her being a prisoner, and then she's broken free, and so it like there's a huge gap of time obviously between those two times, and during that time Krennic is obviously rising to power. He's credited with being the one who is kind of spearheaded the Death Star. There's Cat. There's anyway.
You're lousy with those cats today.
Lousy. They're an infestation. Yeah. So
there's cat blood everywhere. No.
Anyway, no, it's all good. It's all good. So honestly, as we're watching this movie unfold, they jump around a lot to try to set up where we are, and I don't know that we necessarily needed that early piece with Jin, but because of the early piece, then we have to see where everybody is now, years later. So, and that's when we run into they need her to go talk to Saw, because that's going to be the end, to talk to this extremist, and so on and so forth. There's some weird stuff too, like the alien dude who reads minds, like that was a strange.
Makes Bodhi go crazy.
Yeah, that was a strange pull. What were you going to say, Ron?
Completely, like I was watching them, like once again, this is just a completely unnecessary part of the movie that just really went nowhere. It feels like it was one of those plot lines that just may have gotten dropped or something. But I mean, a lot of the Saw stuff always felt unnecessary. Not so much in this movie, like Andor. I still don't understand just why he was in this last season. Like that one episode just felt completely useless to me. But
I don't know. You gotta put the big name in there, right? Yeah. So they jump around a bunch again to try to like set this up for us. And again, stuff that I've read said that originally, and if you watch the original trailer, it kind of feels this way, that they were trying to bring Jyn Erso in or recruit her into the rebellion, but then on this side it seems like she's kind of forcing her way in because she believes in, that her father's message that says that he is, there's something important that they need to find in the plans that's going to be the way to destroy this ultimate weapon. And so, as they're doing that, they bring her in, and then they go to Jeddah, and they see Saw, but they see the whole thing blow up, and which is weird too, because they only target the city, but it seems like the entire planet. It's almost like they did too much.
I was watching something on this, actually, like a YouTube, like that went into like some of the lore, like secondary lore from the comics and stuff like that, because it was that the shot did go straight in, so it ended up hitting the core and doing a lot more damage than they intended. And Jeddah was, in some of the later comics, is like a ruined wasteland by the time like things are later. It's like nowhere almost from Marvel, like a half blown out world. And then Scarif, that doesn't happen because it comes in at an angle and scribs the surface. It doesn't overload the core of the planet.
They learn to aim, is what you're saying. By the way, I love
the Empire is very short on ideas. They don't have many ideas at all. It's like Death Star, another Death Star, a different name Death Star. What if we use Palpatine again?
No. That has nothing to do with this movie.
Did you read any of the comics like that, or like stuff like in the Legends? Because there was the World Devastator, the Sun Crusher. Like they just kept going on with these things.
Well, I mean, if it works once.
Ronald L in the chat, and I also learned this, that the Death Star has different settings. I thought it just was like a one and done, but yeah, he's right. It has different settings.
Well, the other problem is that in the New Hope, they try it out on Alderaan, and witness the full power. But we've already seen the power now twice.
We didn't witness the
full power. Yeah, I don't know. Both of those seem to have done some amazing devastation, so I don't know why that would be a thing, but apparently they were holding back. I just want to call out, by the way, here, Andor's Han Solo Hoth cosplay that he's got going on, because that looks so familiar, almost like we're accidentally trying to make him Han Solo.
Jyn at the end had a little Han Solo look to her as well. She had like the vest on. My favorite part on this rewatch is when Krennic is down there and she Andor needs to hold her back from kicking his corpse. I was like, that is authentic. That is someone who is that angry, and I appreciated it.
Well, but I think in that particular case, right, that goes back to the whole thing about, him and the type of villain that he is that he is so two-faced about things. They thought he was family. Like, they show those flashbacks that show, when she was little, them hanging out with Krennic as, like, they were just chilling, drinking drinks, mom and dad. So I think the fact that he was such a betrayer is probably more personal for her than anything.
Well, I don't know if he was a betrayer. I think they kind of knew what they were getting into. I mean, they're in bed with a evil organization.
Yeah. I was looking for that scene that you were talking about, the where she was trying to get to him, but we can talk about that later. So again, they jump all over the place, but then they finally figure out they need to go to Scarif, and they get there, and then the rebellion's coming because they're going to blow it up, and that messes everything up. And Krennic's there, and he talks to Galen, and he tricks him into saying that he's the one that had released the information, and so he kills all his scientists, kills him, goes away. Yeah. But why do they have this very important piece of data anywhere? Why does this exist anywhere? Why wouldn't this only be on a keychain around Palpatine's neck? Why would
Galen did it?
But why would it be stored somewhere? I don't know. You see what I'm saying?
For the reasons of getting it tried and destroyed, Rob. This isn't a bug. It's those. Well, what do you think? All right, Ron, what do you think?
You gotta you still have to store the plans for everything or whatever you do somewhere central. I don't know, do they have a 7-year file retention policy in the Empire? They seem pretty bureaucratic. Yeah. If you watch, it was who was the guy that got who was the bureaucrat bad guy from Andor? What was his name? He was just he wasn't like he was the one who like sat who he got killed during the riots. I can't remember his name, but he was dating. He was the one with was together with the ISB agent. But anyway, like yeah, it was a bureaucracy. They just do these things, and once again, like Krennic and the Emperor were both just arrogant. They didn't see the problems, so they just did what they needed.
Were you talking about Cyril? Is that the guy who you were talking about?
It's like like you just saw the level of bureaucracy that the Empire has in Cyril, and it's that cold, uncaring bureaucracy was part of the evil of it, right?
Not to pull apart Andor again at this point, but it felt very much like the original, like the Phantom Menace. Like, okay, what is this movie about? Well, it's a trade federation dispute, just like the kids love to see. The same thing like with Andor. It feels very, like you said, bureaucratic, and it's about the supply chain because they need to destroy Gorham because it's got the stuff for the Death Star. So
this entire book is about that. It's all about like supply chain and why the Empire is. I get to frame a little bit better. Is going after these planets and again the bureaucracy. What Bail Organa has to do. Good book. I enjoyed it. A little YA, but it wasn't bad at all. Jay Ware in the chat said the reason the Emperor didn't know is he didn't know how to work the computer. Which you know, if you know anything about the head of a lot of organizations,
they don't know what they're doing. Yeah, exactly. I think in general, though, this movie, it doesn't have a lot of story to it, I guess is where I'm getting at about it jumping around. It's single-minded in its focus of we're going to explain who got the plans and how they got them to Princess Leia. That's what we're going to do in this movie. And so, but it's a 2-hour and 13-minute movie. There's a lot that happens, but there are some long battle scenes, and there's there's a lot of that happens along the way. I just want to stop and say we have a super chat from Rosita, the super chat queen. It says, "Love Rogue One, love this story, great panel tonight." Thank you, Rosita. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for that. That means a lot. Yeah, I love this story too, and Patrick, you've said that too. This is very rewatchable, but overall, it's a very dark and a little bit sad movie. I mean, like, and to the point of they kill everybody at the end. Like, sorry, spoilers. Like, everybody's dead. I feel like they make sure everybody's dead because they were like, let's just put a hole in the roof and we'll send this information up and we're all going to die down here. There is not an escape plan. But I think the first time I saw it, my wife was like, I don't really like that because everybody died. And I'm like, this was to me the more poignant of all the movies because of the loss and the risk that they took for the rebellion. And they see that over and over again as Andor's like going, hey, we've done a bunch of bad stuff. I loved how poetic this was. He said, we've done a bunch of bad stuff, a bunch. And I've stopped and I've thought about it along the way. But if I stop going, then all of the things I've done, all of those horrible things I've done have been for nothing. So we're going to keep going until we get the mission done. And I just think, go ahead.
I think Pat. That Andor adds to that. That scene is amplified by having 2 seasons worth of a television show to look back on and be like, yeah, you did some bad things and you've lived through some tough stuff. And I mean, this is the real story of how you overcome, a fascist regime like that. It takes sacrifice and it takes people making bold, scary, dangerous decisions, and it takes loss,
Yeah. I agree.
Everybody can be the hero to get things done. Some people have to get their hands dirty.
Yeah. But it is dark, and this is totally random. Did you guys ever see Angel, the TV show that was a spinoff of Buffy? Or am I the oldest person in the world? I just was asking. Okay, all right. I mean, what I love about what Joss Whedon did when he wrote that is he made that one character who is a main character, and then they kill him off in the 3rd episode. Like Cordelia picks up his powers, but he was one of the main 3, and then they just kill him, and you're like, wait a minute, you've just broken the rules. You don't kill a main character. And in this one, we just kill them all. And so I guess that's what makes me think of that. Ron, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I remember I don't know if it was a commentary or an interview where he says, if you go back to the pilot for Buffy, he wanted to put, there were the three friends of Buffy's, and one of them gets turned into a vampire and staked during that first episode. He wanted to put him in the opening credits because if you see all the other people in the opening credits, you knew he was going to die. Like, obviously, like, he can't make it to the next episode. So when he got to do Angel and he had more pull, he did that where he had a character he knows was only going to be there for a few episodes and then gets rid of him. But on the other end of this, I was just thinking about, I forgot Rebels was still continuing on while this was going. Like, Rebels wasn't done yet. So you get to this and you're like, who's going to make it through Rebels? Because, I mean, I think we all kind of knew Kanan and probably Ezra were not going to make it because they would have shown up at some point during the original trilogy, being the Jedi. But, like, we didn't know who else. And then when this happened, it was just like, it could be all of them. Like, you have no idea.
Yeah. No, I agree. Let's talk about this movie from a directorial standpoint, because I think Gareth Edwards did an amazing job with this. There's some hesitation as to how much of the reshoots he was a part of, but I think in general he does an amazing job with this. They had all had the utmost respect for him for his directing of Monsters, and that's kind of where
Anchor University.
What was it?
You said he directed Monsters, Anchor University.
Oh, I get it. That's a joke. Sorry. Neither. But what I do find interesting about the timing of this review is that today in theaters, Jurassic World Rebirth drops, which is his most recent directorial achievement. So, and it looks amazing. And I know some of our pack has gone to see it already, but it looks really good. So, I was impressed though, again, visually by this movie. But the one scene that really stood out to me, and I know directorially and visually, but this one scene, was just so good. This. I'd like to make this a poster and put it on my wall. This is so well done. But I feel like from beginning to end, whether it's the acting, and I credit the director a lot for that, the acting or the visuals, they all seem to stand out. What were you going to say, Patrick?
Let's talk about the cinematographer and Greg Fraser. I mean, dude has the bona fides for days on here. Before he did Rogue One, he did Zero Dark 30. After Rogue One, he did Dune Part 1. He did the Batman. He is a frequent collaborator with Gareth Edwards. They also worked on The Creator together. He's done a few director of photography for 3 episodes for Mandalorian. I mean, dude knows how to get behind the lens and shoot. Like, he is incredible. The battle at Scarif, if you took the blasters out, that looks like it's out of Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah,
it's just
no, for sure.
So incredibly well done. And obviously, Storming the Beaches of Normandy was a big influence for that. You can see it visually, and I fall more in love with this movie every time I see it.
I had forgotten that C-3PO and R2-D2 were randomly in this.
That annoyed me.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot about C-3PO being in everything that annoys me. I still think it was unnecessary for C-3PO to have been built by Darth Vader. That seems to me to be so unnecessary in a universe and a galaxy far, far away that we would have to have them tied together like that. Like, that just doesn't seem to make sense to me. But, because it didn't, like, when Chewie meets Han in the Han Solo, the Solo a Star Wars story, that's their origin. But there's no reason C-3PO had to have been built by Anakin to be where he was. Like, that just it just didn't seem to make any sense to me. But let's talk about the scene. And I feel like everybody knows that this is the scene, but this was apparently part of the reshoots and rumor, is the corridor scene where, it's just, I'm hoping it's just quiet, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
It's so good. It's
might
so
be
good.
The best scene in Star Wars history. It literally might be the best scene in Star Wars history from like shot to shot. It's incredible.
Well, and it's more of a horror film too than the rest of Star Wars, because they're like, we're trapped in here, we can't get out, this thing's coming for us. Like, it's scary. Like, it's scary. Like, it's pretty badass, obviously, but it's also pretty intense. It's like the you were talking about Jaws in the chat earlier. It's like, the shark is in here with us. Help us. And he just tears them all apart. And it's Darth Vader. Unfortunately, I feel like with episode 4, they couldn't make Darth Vader as awesome as he is in some of the other movies. And in this one in particular, I think he is amazing. And what they did with him in Obi-Wan as well, that battle that they have.
Oh, God, that's so good.
It's so good.
Yeah.
But in this one, it was just like, he's OP, and it's amazing. But you talk about like visuals, like this visual with him standing on the dock watching this, the ship take off. All of this scene happens so fast, and it's like we've been in this movie, and now all of a sudden, just here at the end, when it's wrapping up, it gets awesome. It went from good and good storytelling to just awesome, I feel like. Patrick,
it's
say words.
Impactful.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ron. Oh
no,
No, I got you.
It was a good ending, and it was a great just tie-in at the end, and it was good. Like, this was the first time we saw Vader, not Anakin, be the badass. Like, in the entire original trilogy, like, yes, he duels Obi-Wan and Luke, but it's a jilted fighting style in that. Like, it's like formal fencing almost compared to what we see in the originals, right? So this is the first time we see him just walk through and mow down. And I mean, obviously, we reference this again in Mandalorian when Luke shows up, and they just mirror the scene almost like directly, where Luke just cuts through the Dark Troopers.
I don't think I put that together.
No, I hadn't either, Ron. That's, I mean, so you read that, you didn't make that up, right? Because you're right, that is exactly the same. When he shows up there, it's the most badass we've ever seen Luke Skywalker. And he just puts them all to shame. You're right. Mind blown. I need to go rewatch that now.
Yeah, it's that wasn't my observation. It was somebody else. Like, and this is also the time I think the Netflix Marvel shows were all out around here, right? About the same time they were starting. I don't remember the exact time.
I don't know,
when
man.
the hallway fight scene.
Circle. Oh yeah.
When the hallway fight scene became a thing.
Daredevil.
Like after Daredevil. And everybody had to do that hallway fight.
Yeah. No, I agree. Hey, so something I just noticed in pausing on it is that I feel like that the Leia CGI, when you're paused on it, is pretty good. Like, when it's moving, it's not perfect. And like you said, Ron, maybe it's, PlayStation 2 instead of PlayStation 5. But when you're paused on it, it's like, wow, that's they did an amazing job with that one. But again, going back to what you said, Patrick, I don't think they needed to have Tarkin as big a player in this whole thing and to just shove it in our face that, like, look what we can do, look what we can do. I like it when it's used sparsely, like in Tron Legacy, where we see Flynn and it's like we've taken him back, we've aged him back a little bit. He still doesn't look great, but we don't have to stare at him for long periods of time. We're only seeing it just for the effect and then moving on. Enough to go, okay, we appreciate that. That was a good job, guys. Let me stop.
I think it's something.
Go ahead, Ron.
With the Tarkin one, I know it's probably in my head, but I always feel like when you're looking at the Tarkin one, you see film grain on him that's nowhere else.
Yes,
like it was filmed
100%.
in the 70s. Okay, so that's not just me, like, projecting that.
No.
No, it's not just you. Here's a shot of it. Yeah, it definitely looks like they were trying to make texture or wrinkles or something about it to make that.
But yeah, it has that grainy look. It honestly, like, it looks like they pulled a cell out of his appearances in Rebels and just put it in there.
Yeah. Okay. A little Uncanny Valley, like maybe.
A lot of Uncanny Valley.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say thank you guys for being here, watching. Everybody, appreciate it. I do have a little bit of trivia for you fellas, so hopefully that's gonna. It's just a little. It's just a touch. It's just a skosh, and there are two of you, so it shouldn't be too hard. I feel like so. Again, if you guys are watching in the chat, and I see Rosita's there, she loves the trivia. I don't know if she loves it that we shame you guys or that she loves playing along, but either way, thank you guys for being here in the chat with us. Please make sure to give us a like, and so here we go. This is easy. This one's easy. How long between when we see young Jin and when we see her again? How many years is that in between?
21?
15 or 16. I can't remember
15.
Exactly.
That is correct. It is 15. And she says it to Saw. That's like how we know.
That's
because
right.
they don't
Yeah,
they don't say when they jump to her in the future, they don't say 15 years later, but that's when we figure that out. When we meet Andor, he is a captain, and he has an insignia on him that indicates that he is a captain. It looks like a dye, like it's really remedial. How many dots and what color are
5.
they?
There's 5 dots.
That was a very bold choice to be wrong. Like you were just right out of the gate.
Somebody had 5 dots.
Aren't they all
Somebody-
a 9 pattern, like 3 by 3, and it's different? The way they're colored differently is the ranking.
I
will
will
put
put you.
the Purina logo.
Well, again, I mean, one of the guys does look like he has the Purina logo on him, but not Andor. Andor is 2 dots and they are green, which insinuates that he is
2 dots.
A captain.
Somebody had 5, and it was prominent because I remember a 5.
Yeah, well, and like Ron just said, he looked like it looked like Purina, but yeah, it's 2 dots. It looked very strange to me, honestly. The 2 dots, almost like kind of like he was trying to get his badge or something. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, there's that. All right, so the next question, K2SO is amazing. We love him. He has the Imperial insignia. Does he have it on both arms, just his left, or just his right?
Just his right.
It's on his right. I don't know about his left.
It's on both. Yeah. Which again, we stare at him a lot, but I guess you're not looking for that kind of stuff when we're when we're watching a movie. This one should be easy. Who says? Because I don't know that there's ever been a titular line in a Star Wars movie, but who says the titular line?
Bodhi.
Okay, there you go. It's Bodhi. Yeah, y'all knew that. Like when that happens, at the first, I'm like, oh, he said the thing. And then I'm like,
I
did
usually
he need
cringe, but I was like, yeah, it was all right.
Exactly. I usually
It's
cringe
better than
when that
Han
happens.
Solo. I'll tell you that. The worst part of any Star Wars movie ever is that took that from like a B movie to a C- movie for me. Oh, so you're Han. So like I expected Dr. Evil. So no. Kids, Dr. Evil was an Austin Powers. Austin Powers was I don't have time.
Mike Myers was Shrek. That's how you tie that. That's how you tie that together for the generations. Mike Myers was Shrek. But it's so funny. My wife thought I made up the phrase titular line. Like she's like, that's not a thing. I was like, no, it's a thing. But the first time I ever saw it was in the Upright Citizens Brigade, and the guy was in a video store and he was trying to convince the guy that he had the titular line in Out of Africa and the titular line in Star Wars. And he just would go home and make a video and come back and show it to the guy. And he's like, I can't wait until we get Out of Africa, Meryl Streep. And then, like, the next one was, when will we see an end to these Star Wars? And I just, every time I think of it, like, the titular line, I think about that. But I don't know, like, yeah, I guess Solo kind of fits that, but it's like Rogue One, very specifically. What is your call sign? Rogue. Rogue? Rogue One. Okay. All right, so the
one there is now.
The last question that I have for you is not in the movie, but it's about the movie, and I this is going to be totally like throwing darts for you guys. I think I think. Are you ready? The runtime on this movie is 2 hours and 13 minutes, and I wondered to myself, is that long or is that short for a Star Wars movie? What is the shortest run? Which movie has the shortest runtime? Which out of the 9 that was released, like out of the ones released to the theaters, out of all the ones released to theaters, which one has the shortest runtime? Would you guess?
I would guess Solo. Oh, you're talking about just in the saga?
Just in the saga.
It's A New Hope.
It is A New Hope.
Hold on.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 2 hours and 1 minute.
Oh, wow.
It is 3 minutes shorter than Empire.
They're all a very tight window of how long the movies are, if I remember. It's all like a 15
2
minute
hours,
range.
90 minutes to 2 hours is the best length for a movie.
2 hours and 32 minutes is The Last Jedi, which is another reason for it not to be anybody's favorite. Oh, is that your favorite? Is that your favorite, Ron?
It's up there.
I like The Last Jedi.
I was thinking about whether this or The Last Jedi was my favorite of the Disney era stuff.
Interesting.
I think this edges out Last Jedi, because I think Last Jedi is the best movie of the Star Wars movies, but it is not the best Star Wars movie.
Yeah,
I'm big on Last Jedi as well.
Solo: A Star Wars Story was 2 hours 15 minutes. This one's 2 hours 13 minutes. Yeah,
at least 45 minutes too long for Solo. And I don't dislike Solo, but it is unnecessarily long and expedition-y.
It is the only one I did not go see twice in theaters.
Yeah. Solo?
I think I waited.
Solo, I did not see Solo twice. I've seen everything else, even that last POS that came out. Rise of Skywalker, I saw twice.
That's by far the worst. I think that's worse than some of the prequels.
Yeah,
it's might be second or worse for me. I'm not sure. I really hate Attack of the Clones.
It's bad.
Yeah,
it's bad.
By the way, here's a picture of Peter Cushing, the original, without the CGI, the man, the myth, the legend. So,
okay,
yeah. I feel like he's a lot more like gaunt, or
his
doesn't
cheeks are
have
more
that
sunk.
Weird glow.
Yeah. I don't know.
He looks too healthy.
Yeah. No, I agree. Okay, so here's a question, Patrick, that I've always wondered about, and thank you guys for playing trivia. We appreciate it. But let's move on to the end here. Is this is a question I have for you, Patrick, and it's really just more of a hypothetical, not a hypothetical. It's more of a just. I thought you might be the man to answer this for me. Why is everybody in space British?
You see, when things.
Please tell me.
Happening, and I don't know, man. They just get a lot of English actors. They shot in London for some of them, didn't they? They didn't shoot this one in London. I know that.
No, they shot it in space. Did you not?
Rob, I have a really hard thing to tell you about these movies. They are not, in fact, historic.
Whoa! No. That's see, the problem that you don't understand is it happened in a galaxy far, far away. So a lot of that news didn't get to us. But that's what these documentaries are for: is to explain to us what's happening over there. I did find this. But speaking of languages, and back to Andor a little bit, Gorman. Was that French they were speaking in there? Because it seemed unnecessary for them to be speaking another language, because it made me have to look at the screen for subtitles, and I don't usually love to do that. But whatever language that they were speaking...
Can you read? Can you not read? Is that what's happening here? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to out you in front of everyone like this, but you're looking at the screen. You can read I usually leave subtitles on all the time, because what if I'm crunching, man? You gotta crunch when you're watching a movie.
I love the. I think it was what Zach Galifianakis. I believe I told you I don't know how to read. No, it's not about that. It's not about that. It's just about, like, there are times when I'm watching something that I will be doing something else at the same time, and so I hear it. And so this one, it just makes you look at the screen for the subtitles, which didn't seem necessary for that movie or for that series for that to happen. So it sounds French, but I assume that it's not. I don't know that they made their own.
I just looked it up.
Okay,
and it was based off French, but it was molded from other things. Like that's what a lot of, I don't know if Ben Burt is still doing it, but that's what they did. Like I think like it's the same way they do the Minions languages, like one language it's based off of, and then they take in other words and throw it in, or words that sound like or similar words in other languages and throw them in. That's how they've always do a lot of these fake languages.
Well, like if it's Shogun, okay, put it in subtitles, speak Japanese, be original. But when it comes to something like this, you didn't need to make up that new language. And it is just like, I'm going to have to learn this like Na'vi and Wookiee. Like, am I going to have to learn this language to really understand it? It just seemed unnecessary. But at least it wasn't British. This we know. So there you go.
You get stuck on the weirdest thing, guy.
This is why it's fun, Patrick. Come on, man. Yeah. The music. Let's talk about the music.
Yeah.
Michael Giacchino takes John Williams' music and it's all mixed together and it makes something even better. I love the score from this. I think it is amazing because it's Star Wars, like it's John Williams in all the right places. If that makes sense, it hits in all those right places. But again, Michael Giacchino, I can't pronounce his name, but he's amazing because of The Incredibles is the first place I ever heard his music, and ever since then, I mean, even his directorial debut as the Werewolf by Night, I enjoyed, and then his son also scores for I believe it was the Skeleton Crew. So, but. Nice. Yeah, talk about the music, Ron. You agree?
I used to really love it. It annoys me now because for some reason it is what my phone auto plays whenever I hook it up in the car. It goes, I just think alphabetically A Long Ride Ahead is the first track on my on my phone. So that's what it plays. I actually used to I tried to rename the monorail spiel to a space A monorail spiel, so that would play, but somehow this overrode that, and now every time I get in the car it starts up on that track, and it's got a long build up before it even gets to the music, so it annoys me a little bit at this point. It's very good, but I have some
personal issues with it,
annoying with it. Yeah.
But it says that's track 2. Why are you missing here? He's here for us. A chronic condition.
Alphabetical.
Oh.
Long
Mine used to play a cappella by Carmen every time I plugged my phone in. Which I still like the song, Ron. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. I mean, they throw a lot of Star Wars things in this for us. We see AT-ATs, we hear that music, we see C-3PO and R2-D2.
Chopper.
What?
We see Chopper.
Well, there you go. I love this, the throws to to things that are kind of subtle along the way. But again, I think that was pretty cool. I'm looking through the soundtrack, and a lot of them, it's within it says includes the Force theme, includes the Imperial March. So I think that the music to this one is just super. I think the Force is strong with this soundtrack. That's what I'm going to say. Ron, you look like you want to say something else.
It's good, but nobody handles leitmotif in a soundtrack like Williams, I think, and I think he takes a lot of Williams themes, but he doesn't. It felt different. It felt based off it, but still felt different, which I think was the point of this movie. It was supposed to feel different.
Well, and again, I wish it felt more different sometimes. I'm celebrating all of the Star Wars things that were in here, but I think that it boxed it in. It boxed it in a little bit to be again, we know where it's going to end, and we know it's part of that series, and that it leads back to the Skywalker saga. But I feel like originally maybe they were going to take these Star Wars stories and make them a little more random, a little bit more somewhere else in the universe. And if they had done that, then maybe they could have built off that a little bit more. I think we see that more in the TV shows, like Skeleton Crew doesn't really tie in as much to everything like Rogue One ties in. But the two Star Wars stories they did, both of them tie in to the Skywalker saga. What were you going to say, Patrick?
We can talk about this with what's going on right now with Elio and what the people, the creatives in Pixar are saying, that if we don't go and see movies like this, that it's just going to get up to Toy Story 25. They can't take that risk with the theatrical releases. They can take that risk with the streaming shows. And so they have to put out there what sells. And I think, we talk about there was extensive reshoots, and I wouldn't be surprised if popping 3PO and R2 in there wasn't part of it. I like that it's connected, but it's outside of the characters. Honestly, my two favorite Star Wars properties are probably this and Rebels, and they are adjacent but outside of the Skywalker saga, even though they dip in and out. I think it's just the right amount of Star Wars without having to feel wrapped into the story. There's a lot that the prequels changed for us as Star Wars fans, I think.
Yeah. There's a generational difference, I think, between
Definitely.
us and people a few years younger than us, and now, I don't know, are there kids like are our girls, Patrick, gonna like the Last Jedi trilogy? If we do, I feel we failed as parents, but
my daughter's going to be waiting for what's his name from the Nub live action movie from
Nubs.
Jedi.
Does she watch
loves
that?
her some Nubs. Yeah. When I was like, babe, I got to watch Star Wars for my show, she's like, let's just watch Young Jedi. I was like, yeah, I guess we'll just watch Young Jedi, and I'll try and watch this before I fall asleep tonight. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what I can get her into, because there's a lot of dark in here, in all of them. And even when we're talking about cute, cuddly Ewoks, they've dismembered and they've clearly eaten people before. And well, I don't know where to start her with the live action stuff. Even Rebels was a little scary for her. I think she might be able to make it through now. But yeah, I don't know. Is there going to be a Star Wars for her? Are we going to do episode 10, 11, and 12? I don't know, man. This thing is so up in the air. Television kills it. We'll see what Mando and Grogu does in the theater.
Well, and they've kind of teased a Obi-Wan season 2. I'm down for that. I feel like that one should be pretty exciting. Skeleton Crew wasn't what I expected it to be. Didn't hate it.
You didn't
but
like Star Wars Goonies?
Star Wars Goonies.
I thought it was going to be more Goonies.
And it's like, here's Stranger Things and Star Wars together. You like Stranger Things, you like Star Wars. Take them both.
Yeah.
But once again, it's like, we have to bring a Force user in. Like, that kind of killed that for me.
I think that they take some of these movies, like I feel like Phantom Menace was that, and they go, what did people like? They like lightsabers. Let's just use a lot more lightsabers. And then it's like, oh, that was too much lightsabers. Let's pull it back a little bit. More blasters? Okay, we'll do that in the second movie. I don't know. I think that George Lucas said this to, I think it was Frank Oz, in one behind the scenes thing I saw once about the Phantom Menace, and said that these movies, the Phantom Menace movies, were built for that generation's kids, as opposed to A New Hope that was made, and those series that were maybe made for us. Those Phantom Menace movies were made for that next generation, not for, the super fan adults. But I feel like it's got to be for everybody. You want it to be kind of like we think of Disney as we want to take our kids because we had those experiences. We want to share those experiences with them, and and grow that together as part of our legacy. So I hope that that there is a place for your kids to watch this. I know that my son loves Star Wars stuff, doesn't necessarily love Star Wars content. I know that's strange to say. He feels the same way about Tron. He will ride Tron. He loves the Tron aesthetic, the colors, the music, all that. He's not going to sit down and watch it.
Well, you should make him.
Avatar is one of those where everybody loves the land, but I've heard people in the land say, I don't care for the movie. Love the land.
You've heard me say it on shows that we've done together.
I know you won't review the second movie with me.
I hate that movie with a fiery passion. It's a bad movie.
The second one or the first one?
Great land. I will not watch this. You would have to pay me actual money to watch the second one. I would need the point of
actual
cash.
But pulling this back into what we're talking about here, I think originally the Star Wars story thing was supposed to be part of the main trilogy this Christmas, and then the next Christmas do the Star Wars story, and then following back and forth. And then they were like, okay, we're not going to do those standalones anymore because Rogue One maybe didn't do what they wanted it to do, and even though it was $1 billion off of $200 million, it seems like a lot of money to me.
I think they thought it cannibalized the other movies, was my understanding. Like, they were just doing too often, and it was kind of, because if you look back in the day, Star Wars were on a 3-year schedule, Star Treks were on a 2-year schedule, James Bonds were on a 2-year schedule in the 90s. They weren't pumping out movie after movie after movie every year, or multiple movies every year like they do with Marvel. And that's what causes the burnout, is the constant feed of things. But we live in a world where, there's a million streaming services, and with serialized TV, and now you need to tell these stories that are longer and complex, and you need to pull these things out. It's a catch-22 of putting out enough content to feed and enough content to not overfeed.
Well, I think what they did was, what I was going to say was, they kind of got rid of this, and then they were going to go Star Wars Avatar, and then now it's almost like both of them are very sparse because Cameron can't get the Avatar movies out fast enough, and then the Star Wars movies, they're to your point, it seems like there's a little bit of burnout, but that fatigue I don't feel like was there at first with the MCU. And I think back in the day, I could compare and go, well, there seems to be fatigue with Star Wars, but there doesn't seem to be fatigue with the MCU, where they're doing 3 a year. And now there has been fatigue. And I think maybe it was mixed with a loss of quality and a loss of vision of where it was going, because, you were talking about, like, that's too much. I wanted more MCU all the time. And then they do things like, like Secret Invasion, and it was bad.
MCU started being taken out of the hands of directors like Favreau and whoever. And as much as I like Feige, and I think he's overall been good for it, he's running it like a showrunner, with directors aren't telling the story. They're just there to get performances out of the actors. And I think that's hurt the MCU. Like, there's no visual differences to a lot of them. There's no... They all feel the same. They don't have these changes like they did, I think, in the first even 2/3 of, like, the Infinity Saga. I think by the time they just were getting towards Infinity War, they were just really having to drive it so much that things just became too formulaic sometime around Civil War. Like, visually, and the way like, everybody was using the same filters, everybody was using these same color.
The blue
it just became so boring, and works for a TV show because you're not seeing it on an IMAX screen or whatever. Like,
bringing it back to Rogue One from all that, I think that's what really separates this. Like, Rob, you said earlier, is that it's visually different from anything else we've seen up until that point in time of the Star Wars universe. There's sunny beaches. Who knew? I think that's really what pops it off and separates it and makes it that different feeling. And yes, it's a Star Wars story, which, by the way, that colon thing is the dumbest thing ever. If you feel like you can't, you can just make it Rogue One in the Star Wars font and promote it correctly, like a Star Wars story. Get out of here with that nonsense.
Just
but
Star
I think
Wars
that's
or Rogue One, yeah.
Well,
all right. Let's Rogue One. No, it's fine.
Let's wrap it up. I'm gonna give you guys a chance to give your final thoughts and tell me, that quintessential line about recommendation and any other thoughts you have about this before we get out of here. I want to say thank you to everybody who's been with us tonight. We appreciate you guys being in the chat, hanging out with us, talking about Star Wars, then leaning into Marvel, and then back to Star Wars. But it's all related. So thank you guys for being with us. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. There's a lot of great content coming up for you guys, including here's a look at what we've done. We had Jurassic Park. We did a review last week of Jurassic Park, so come back and watch that. We did trivia night on last Friday night, so you can come back and watch that. Park Adventures Club is that's our park show. We do it on Sunday nights at 8:30. We talked about water parks last week. Tonight is Where You Are, a review of Rogue One. Friday I went to Busch Gardens, Williamsburg last week. So I'm going to drop a trip review on Friday since it is July 4th. We will not be live, but we do drop content every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. So Sunday night, we'll be back again with another Park Adventures Club live. So hopefully you guys will join us for that. Next week's review is the Jungle Book, the animated Jungle Book. So Stephanie will be here to talk to us about that. And then the week after, Patrick and I are going to do what two grown adult men do, talk about Zombies 2. So
I will talk about DComs until they pry them from my cold dead hands.
Perfect. But also I want to give a shout out to our pack. We love our pack. That's the Park Adventurers Club. Those are the folks who support us and join us in our community. Thank you guys so much for being members of our pack. If you want to learn more about our Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/GoPack, PAC. And here is a look at some of our Zebra Mezzanine and Treasure Room supporters, and we appreciate you guys. So now is the time, Patrick. Now is the best time. I'm going to ask you, some friend of yours is sitting down, never seen Rogue One before, and they're like, oh, Patrick, you're the Disney Star Wars guy in my life. I need to know, would you recommend this movie?
Yes, I would recommend this movie. I would recommend this movie as a standalone, even if you have no interest in Star Wars. This is just a straight up good movie. It's great that it ties into the Star Wars stories, but I think it can stand on its own as a film without, all that other hullabaloo and knowledge in it. So yeah, go watch Rogue One. It's great.
And Mr. Rondiana, same question.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% would recommend this, not just as a Star Wars film, because going back to what we were saying about the MCU, the best genre films like that are in these kind of sci-fi genres are takes on other concepts. This is a heist film and a war film all thrown into one. Like, this easily could have just been, trying to steal the V2 plans, during World War II, and not much would have changed. It's a good film on those levels, as well as being a Star Wars film.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to rank him, and I'm going to say that my favorite is still Empire Strikes Back. That's the one that I watched as a kid. I loved that one. I love all the characters in it, the story. I can watch that one over and over again. But I'm going to say that this one is probably, it could be a close second. I think I probably lean toward the entire trilogy, the first trilogy first, but this feels like it is part of it. I agree with you, Patrick, that it could be a standalone movie onto its own. But again, it sort of feels a little bit different and outside of Star Wars as it was supposed to. So it gives throws to it, but at the same time, it balances out by being something unique and different. One last thing I wanted to say, since we're talking about Star Wars, my daughter made me this for Father's Day. This is it's a Chewbacca. I know, right? Isn't he cute? He's cute. So small. I know. He is so small and fluffy. He was not in the movie, by the way. So, oh well. I mean, I guess it's not really a Star Wars movie if you don't have a Wookiee in it, right? Thank you guys for going back to this one with me. I've wanted to talk about this one for a while. I wanted to have an excuse to wear my Rogue One hat, and so I appreciate you guys jumping in, talking about this, and being here, and just thank you. And hopefully you guys will join us for even more content. If we don't see you again before, have a happy July 4th, but hopefully we'll see you back here Friday night for that trip review of Busch Gardens, and then Sunday night for another Park Adventures Club, and then next Wednesday night, 9 p.m. for a look on the plus side. Thank you guys. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.